Welcome to the Undone Club.
A pod for when you just can't get your shit together.
Hello everyone, welcome back to episode 3.
Hello.
We're currently recording on the 2nd of October, so we released our first episode yesterday. So we just wanted to say a massive thank you.
Yes, thank you so much. It was so nerve-wracking, but so exciting. The love and support we got back was unreal. Made it so worth it.
It did. It means so much.
We tried recording our first episode, I want to say like nearly 3 months ago now.
Yeah.
Didn't really go to plan. We recorded that a few times and anyway, eventually ended up with what we recorded, what we published. But yeah, we did want to have like a bunch of episodes banked, but as the crow would fly, is that saying?
I've never heard that saying in my life.
It's probably wrong.
I
It's probably
love
wrong.
it.
But anyway, alas,
As
that
the
did not
crow would
happen.
say.
As Casey
Uni.
would say. Yeah, that did not happen. So now we are, live recording. Whenever you'll hear this, you'll hear it, but welcome.
Today's episode is all about navigating uni in your 20s, your late 20s, the good, the bad, and the broke. But before we get into today's episode, let's kick us off with some recommendations. Casey, would you like to go first?
Yes, okay. So by the time you hear this episode, it's probably going to be a little bit late. I might sound late to the party, but my recommendation is actually a TV show, and that is The Secret Life of Mormon Wives. That show is like reality TV show crack. I loved it so much. I love a show that you can put on in the background, not really have to pay too much attention to, but it's so entertaining. I loved it.
That's awesome. I love that when you're trying to do something, but you just need something on in the background to kind of keep you like going.
I don't want anything to take up my brain space, so that's perfect. Do you have one?
My recommendation is a little bit like deep. It was just the first thing that came into my mind, and I'm like, I'm going to run with it. My recommendation is like going off how you are, like being more vulnerable, I guess, and being okay if you can't give, like, you know how they say everyone's 100% is different, like you can't always give 100%, like your 100% one day might be like equivalent to 60% another day, and just being like okay with that and vulnerable, because I feel like I've always been the type of person to just like not show that side of myself and keep it super like within and hidden. But when you're open about that, I feel like you just invite more like, I guess, community and like, I don't know, because you kind of need to be supported when you feel like that. And I feel like when you are vulnerable about it and be like, oh, I'm actually feeling like this, even if you're not wanting pity or like not pity, but you're not wanting somebody to like solve it for you, you're just kind of like being honest. It's really refreshing, and I'm actually not used to doing that, so that's my recommendation of the week. A little bit deep. Yeah, it's easy to compare yourself to other people, but you don't know how many people might be going through similar things until you like open up and just
Yeah, that's so true. Even when like for any situation like that, you always do see people posting the end product and you're like, oh, that seems so far away. I'm like really in the thick of it right now. I could do with some support. That was a beautiful recommendation.
Thank you. It was a bit of a backstory. I think I did it in class the other day with you, Casey. We were in class together and I just could not focus in class. We were like, what are we doing? Vitamin D. We're doing this subject called nutrition science, and we're going through like a worksheet, and I just could not focus. I kept reading it, and every time I'd like read it, my brain would just like float away to another land. And this classroom is really like harsh, like the light, it's like a school classroom with no windows, really harsh lighting. And I was like, I just need to go. And I was trying to push through. I'm like, Casey, I think I have to go. Just like sit in the library by myself with a coffee and just recharge myself. And I did it. Yeah, and I felt so much better. I'm like, I need to do that more. So anyway, I'm yapping. Our next part of the episode is our bone to pick, the favourite part.
Bone to pick time, baby.
Woo, what's your
Okay.
bone to pick, Casey?
I have so many.
You've got a list, don't you?
Yeah, I do. It's very long. What am I going to say today? Okay. Trying to put on a pair of leggings when you're already sweaty, when it's hot outside, and it's humid.
Yeah, that's gross.
I had to do that the other day, before I went to Pilates, and I was already having a bad day, and I just started crying. It's like, I can't do this right now. Yeah, it's oh, universal experience, but seriously, someone has to figure it out. Hate it.
Coming off the bat, I work at a place with like saunas and stuff like that. And the amount of people that come in wearing leggings and then when they leave, they're like, that was hell. I'm like, yeah, I don't know why you wore leggings. And like, I won't next time. My bone to pick is, why does decaf coffee taste so shit?
I can't say I've ever noticed a difference, but I'm also not a big coffee connoisseur.
That's true, yeah. I can taste when the coffee is good versus when it's bad. And I drink heaps of coffee, but because I've like been recently diagnosed with ADHD, and I'm trialing medication, I've noticed I do get quite like having coffee plus medication. It's a bit full on. And so trying to cut down, because I love the taste of coffee, but decaf coffee just doesn't hit. But I want the coffee taste without the ramifications. But anyway, that's my bone to pick.
Does decaf cost the same as regular coffee?
I'm pretty sure it's the same price.
Oh, that's even worse.
Yeah, yeah. Be nice if it was less, but that's fine. Well, a bit of agenda about today. I'll kind of go through everything that we'll touch on, and we'll just jump right in. Today we're going to go through our own separate journeys with how we ended up being, I guess, studying a little bit later in life. And I thought we'd also talk about how to be a dietitian, because I don't know about you, Casey, but actually probably more on TikTok, I get heaps of questions about how to be a dietitian, the difference between nutritionist, dietitian. So I thought that could be cool to touch on. And then I thought we'd talk a bit about like privilege, because our degree is a health degree and we've got a lot of placement, and that is a lot if you are financially independent. So I thought we could talk about that, because being a little bit like older and not having some of those privileges makes it so much harder. Then I thought we'd go into the positives, so we'll touch on that later. And then finishing up with a bit of pep talks if you're in the same boat studying a little bit later in life. Okay, so let's kick us off with a bit about our journey. I think in the first episode we touched on like a bit about like how you studied teaching before. So
yeah, well, I guess if we go on the timeline from high school, so I graduated high school in 2016. I had no idea what I wanted to do. I was really indecisive. A lot of my friends picked up uni degrees, and I decided not to. I think I had in the back of my mind that it wasn't going to be free, for one, and also I didn't want to give my time to something that I wasn't fully invested in. I'm very protective of my time, um, sometimes to my detriment. But essentially, I think around 2018, I started to want to study, but I also moved out of home in 2018. So affording to study, like while moving to a new city, it just was not on the agenda. I was not going to be able to do it. And then I think at the end of 2019, I changed jobs and started to get a little bit more interested in the health space. And I thought about maybe doing my certificates in like personal training. Really wasn't too sure. Was looking at a few different uni degrees. But then the big bad COVID came along. And I just knew, even before I was diagnosed with ADHD, I knew that online learning was something that I could not do. I had to draw the line somewhere. And I just, that was not going to happen for me in the slightest. So once that all died down, going into 2021, I think I don't know why, I just thought that I was going to be a teacher. So I did 6 months of secondary education. I think in the back of my mind, it was also to kind of get a bit of a GPA so I could go into something else. So anyway, did secondary education for a semester. Didn't really like it, but I did do a nutrition unit within that degree. And that kind of really sparked my interest again. Having a lot of fun in that. I did really well in that unit. And it was also around that time I was going through a lot of health issues of my own, which I'm sure we'll touch on in another episode. But that's when I started my Instagram account. And yeah, that community was amazing, and started following a lot of dietitians in the space. And yeah, I think that just really solidified that that's what I wanted to do. So by the time I actually got into the degree that I'm doing now, I was 22. I think I was 23. Um, but yeah, I guess there was a lot of like anxiety about going to uni, starting fresh again, um, at 23, when yeah, all my friends had just graduated in their full-time jobs. Yeah, it just felt a little bit daunting. So that's kind of my story from high school to now.
Mine's quite similar because I think we already spoken about it, but I was the same. Like well, I was late diagnosed with ADHD. I didn't know, and I just like career hopped so much. I just was like learning about myself. Yeah, I guess I don't know. I moved out of home very early. I was 18 or 19. So I had to be like financially independent from a super young age. And so I feel like I just didn't really have a time to learn about myself and my interests properly. And so that's why I kind of just like launched myself anywhere that seemed interesting. um Anyway, I ended up taking a little bit of a break from study and I worked in a call center. This is around COVID, and I decided to study marketing online. Um, Online study was hard, Casey. Answer to your question.
Yeah, I can imagine. You're
Oh
a
my god, it was
soldier.
tough, especially during COVID as well. Yeah, so I started doing that, and then if you know anything about marketing, the 4Ps, product, price, I forget the rest actually. Anyway, pretty much so many of the assessments are on that, and I just remember being so bored, and I liked doing like marketing stuff if it was for something I was interested in. But soon as it was something to do with something I like didn't care about, I just could not make myself do it. And yeah, I had like also started an Instagram account. I don't even know when it was. I've always just been interested in like health for my mental health. Like I remember when I was young, I just used to like go on really long runs for like just to, it was kind of like meditation-y. I didn't do it for any other reason than to just like clear my brain. And I just love that idea of just like moving my body to like make my brain shut the hell up. I've just always done that and been so interested in health, and it's kind of gone like, you know, a bit of it's been not so great, bad relationship with food, and it's like obviously come to where I am today. But yeah, I've always had an interest, and it was during that time I'd started an Instagram account as well as you, Casey, and I was like, I think I really want to do something with health because I just love learning about it, and I've had so many like, you know, different career options that I've tried and not really liked. But during this whole time, I've really been interested in my health and just learning about it. I just find it really fascinating. And I was like, if I can choose a career that I'm always learning about it in that way, and I get to teach people about it as well, I feel like I would feel really fulfilled because the learning never ends, and it just seems like really broad.
Just touching on that, like it's really nice that it's also really self-beneficial in this degree. Like you're learning so much about how to help others, but you can also help yourself with that, which I don't know, I feel like with some other industries you don't really get that benefit, which is really nice.
I agree. It like fuels your passion a lot more because like you have, I guess, a story to tell, which yeah. But yeah, I was very similar to you, Casey. I was like, do I become a PT? And somebody laughed at me like, you can't even do a push-up. I'm like, yeah, that's true. I can now. I couldn't. I used to go to the gym and go to like one machine for the whole time and then go home. I just like to go for fun. I didn't know what I was doing. Anyway, and then I was like, I was looking up online what's a health thing that's not a PT, and I saw like, look, I didn't know it was called exercise physiologist, and I thought it was exercise psychologist, which is a different thing. And I was telling everyone I want to do this, and people were looking at me funny. Anyway, I was just exploring different options. I had no idea, and then it was the same as you. I started following a bunch of nutritionists and dietitians. And honestly, I just didn't really know what they did. I didn't know what that was, to be fair with you. And once I started following them, seeing what they do, what they talk about, what a day in their life looks like, I was like, oh, you can do this for a job? I just didn't really know like what that looked like. And yeah. So yeah, it was from there that I started I probably took a year or two just like researching, having a look at like job descriptions, if it was something I liked, and was umming and ahhing, considering I'd studied so many different things. I was like not sure. Anyway, I just decided to jump in after that. That was a very long-winded answer, but that is my story. Took a lot of time.
Well, on that, I guess the process of actually becoming a dietitian, there's a few different ways to go about it depending on where you are. For Faith and I at our uni, you essentially can go one of two ways. You can do a nutrition science degree, which will give you a university qualification to be a nutritionist, but not a dietitian.
Yeah.
If you do that degree, then you have to look at doing like a master's elsewhere or an honors elsewhere. Luckily for us, they offer a nutrition and dietetics honors degree in one package, which is so helpful because it's a lot cheaper than going down the route of like doing a master's, because that break the bank.
It's literally the same price as the bachelor, I think, or maybe even more.
Yeah, I did consider just doing the nutrition science degree. I don't know why. I thought that doing the nutrition science, getting the piece of paper would make me really motivated to then go do my master's. In reality, I am someone who would probably get to the end of study and be like, okay, I can put my feet up, I'm done.
Yeah.
You know, procrastinate for way too long.
Yeah, totally. I would do that too. But yeah, that's how you become a dietitian slash nutritionist. You can also, I've known people that have done a science degree or a health degree, and they can do, yeah, a few bridging courses and then do is it called a major? No, master's, sorry. Forgot the name for master's. And yeah, you can do it that way. I've known a few people that have done that. So you don't have to do like a whole entire degree, which is good.
Yeah, broad health degrees would be so interesting. Kind of like decide a little bit. I will say though, for what we're doing, Faith and I are both really interested in sports dietetics. And unfortunately, the curriculum really just doesn't have too much in there for sports dietetics. There was one unit that we've done, and I think that's pretty much it. We both loved it so much. Best unit ever. But yeah, unfortunately, like you really don't get to pick and choose like your interest areas too much when you take a degree like what we're doing. That's more so like further qualifications that you look at once you graduate and go down that route, which, you know, you're just never not learning.
It's true. And I didn't know that. Well, I actually had, when I was posting to my Instagram about the sports dietetics nutrition, course that we're doing in uni, I had a few dietitians say like, oh, you actually do that as a part of your degree? And I was like, yeah. And they're like, oh, I didn't do any of that. Like, so there's probably a lot of people who didn't even have that integrated into the degree. So I'm not sure what other people's curriculums are, but yeah.
We'd be grateful for what we got.
Yeah, which I think is interesting. But it's a career that you can just go with so many different directions. You can work clinical, like in hospital, private practice. You can do research. You can work for companies. You can do marketing. You can do so many things, which is I think what we love. And like we have people, I see people on Instagram that literally have like so many different jobs that they do, like casual, part-time, like not lots of full-time jobs, but they just like work here a little bit, work there a little bit, which is really nice. I feel like for my ADHD brain, I like a bit of variety and to just like use different skills.
Yeah, it's probably harder to get bored with what you're doing.
Exactly. And I think that's why I like a bit about my like journey and why like, so I'm technically we're in our second year of our nutrition dietetics, but this is our third year of study. The reason why, like obviously I failed chemistry, so I would have been here anyway, but I also started off doing the double degree. You can do nutrition and communications as a double degree, and because I've studied communications in the past, I was like, oh yeah, I can get some credit points. So I started doing that to begin with, but I just didn't like it and didn't do any of the subjects. But but yeah, that's another option too. So there's so many different like avenues you can go down, which is I really love. I find that really cool. Yeah, it's a really supportive environment and industry for the most part, I found. Yeah.
It's also a really good one to study if you are like maybe more anxious going to uni at a later age. I'm not saying that we were old by any means, but there's such a variety of people, all different ages, studying with us. And it's so nice because it just feels like no matter what journey you've been on, and this would go for any degree, I guess, like no matter where you've come from, you all end up in the same place and you all have that mutual like experience together, which I just think is so sweet.
It is. I find it such a like honor and privilege, and like I cherish it to be doing uni with like people who are just fresh out of high school, and then people who are mums or like, 40 plus years old. I just love doing it with people in different stages of life because like
You learn so much from everyone.
yeah. And working in groups with people like that, like it's really lovely to see how everyone's brains work differently. And like, we have a friend who is a mum, and just like, I don't know, this is a bit like I don't know if it's weird to share, but like, she is so like good with saying like, oh, like I'm looking after my granddaughter this day and I've got work this day, so I can only work on things this day. And I'm like, oh, like you can just do that, like say like, be so good with your time, like I don't know, like it's cool to work with people who are like way further along in their life who've got those skills, and I'm like learning from them with like how they do that.
It's so nice.
Yeah.
It's like the unexpected friendships that you never thought you'd make, but they become such integral parts of your life. So I don't know. I'm so glad I decided to go to uni. No matter how anxious I was, like seriously, best decision I think I've ever made.
I know, like some of the best girls like friendships I've made are like in this degree, like such quality people, like everyone is so supportive and just fucking lovely.
So lovely. And yeah, that's the thing. Like if you're so nervous about, I don't know, starting a degree or doing something new, for whatever reason, you need to remember that you're choosing to go down a path of study because you're interested in it. And that is going to be the case for pretty much everyone else who's doing the same thing. You are bound to make lifelong friendships, have so much in common with these people. And I don't know, I think it's just such a beautiful thing that the best people that you haven't met yet are there.
I love that. And even if you don't make friends at uni, it's like such a supportive place, even online. Like, I don't know about you, Casey, but like I've met so many people online on Instagram. You have to 100% because we've got our joined Instagram Undone, and we've got people in there that are in our inbox that we've just met virtually that are like sending us these things that are like, they're like, I feel like I've known you even though we've not met in person before. So it's just such a lovely community. And I'm sure that's in other industries, but it's especially in this industry. We're biased, but I thought we could go through like some of the stuff about like privilege, because like being in your mid to late 20s, like obviously a lot of us are not living with parents or don't have that privilege. So yeah, it is kind of a lot harder than I guess if you were still at home straight after high school. So I thought we could just talk about that trauma bond with each other about the struggles.
So yeah, we both moved out of home when we were about 18, 19. I think I was 19. So, being young and naive and a little bit silly with money back then, definitely has impacted me now, unfortunately.
Yeah, well, you weren't to know. Like when you're young, you have to make those mistakes to figure it out anyway. So it's hard.
But yeah, it is so hard, especially in the first years. There's a lot of days you are required to be on campus.
Oh my God, so
I'm
many.
pretty sure I was on campus 4 days of the week. And at the time, I was working a job that was only Monday to Friday. So trying to squeeze in one shift a week and somehow being able to pay my rent and not yet being able to get any like Centrelink assistance, it was hell. Really, really struggled. I ultimately ended up having to change jobs. But yeah, it can be really challenging, and I don't think it's spoken about enough. I know people definitely talk about it, but I don't know. When I say I'm broke, I mean I'm broke.
Yeah, it's hard. So hard. And it's like, that's probably another thing when you're talking about how much you have to be on campus. Like our prac classes for science, they're like 3 hours long, and you could have three subjects like that, and you need to be like on campus like 9 hours a week, plus your lectures, plus another tutorial. So that's like, I can't do many maths, but
It's too many
that's
hours.
a lot of hours. And if you're having to support yourself financially, plus cook, plus pay your bills, pay your rent, go shopping, spend time with your like loved ones, sleep, and actually study as well. It's just insane. And it doesn't sound too bad, but like when you're in the thick of it, you feel it. It is really tough.
There does not feel like there's a light at the end of the tunnel some weeks. Like,
It doesn't.
I tell you.
And so it's really hard, especially because in this degree we've got placement in our final year, and I think even in third year, so third and fourth. But yeah, in the final year you have 1,000 hours of unpaid placement. So that's full-time work for a lot of this like whole last year. It's insane, and you still have to be doing that, like supporting yourself financially, paying your rent. Like rent just doesn't stop because you have uni.
And it feels like every freaking year rent is going up and everything around me, like price is just getting higher and higher and higher. So that's excellent. Love it.
Yeah. So yeah, it's really hard, and like it's hard when you like are so passionate and you like really want to do it, but you can't put everything in because you have the barrier of needing to earn an income and pay your rent. And for me, like being financially independent is a really big value for me as well. That's something I just hold really strongly. So like how do you do all those things and give your best at uni? Like you can't do everything.
Yeah, at some stage you've got to acknowledge that something has got to give. And in this phase of life, having like a house deposit is probably not the number one priority. And that's okay.
No, yeah, it's okay. And it's hard when you're like seeing all like your friends on Facebook like getting engaged, getting married, getting promotions, yeah, buying a house, going on all these crazy holidays, or when you have a friend saying, "Would you like to come on a holiday overseas with me?" And you're just like, "Well, I don't think I can because that means I can't work and pay my rent while I'm away versus when I get back." Yeah, you just have so many more things to think about, and you're doing a lot of sacrificing with not a lot of privilege behind you.
But it is a lot of short-term sacrifice for long-term gain. And I think it's really important to acknowledge that although it feels really, really hard, it's not forever. You know, there are things that you can do, like you can look at government support, you can look at uni scholarships, you can look at bursaries. There's so many things that you can do if you feel like you're really, really struggling to get some kind of help. Even if
Yeah.
it's a little bit, it can really like add up in the end. So yeah, it's really tough, but again, it's short term. In the scheme of things, a few years of, you know, having to say no to social outings or put your travel on hold or, you know, just maybe feel a little bit tired. Very, very tired actually. Yeah, you got to do what you got to do. So that's my little 2 cents.
And it's also okay if you have to do it part time because of that. Because, like, it's such a slog and it's such a hustle. And you can choose to hustle and to go crazy and to, like, just go for it full speed ahead, like 100 Ks an hour, go for it, like, get it done. That's totally fine. And there's nothing wrong with that, nothing bad about that. But if you also feel like you need to have more balance in your life and enjoy the finer things in life and have spare dollars, it's more than okay to take your time, save your money.
And because realistically, even if you did 3 units, which is what I've been doing the whole time, I've not done a full 4 unit semester the whole time I've been at uni. But yeah, even if you do need to do drop down, what's an extra year in the scheme of things for your mental health? Like, what is an extra year? It's nothing. So
Yeah. Keep your eye on the prize, and no matter how you get there, you're going to get there anyway.
and that comes back to that saying that we love to say, that the time is going to pass no matter what you do. Take your time if you need to. You're going to end up where you need to be. That is okay. There was someone actually in our inbox the other day who was saying that they felt really stressed about whether they needed to do their masters right away or if they could chill out for a little bit and wait. And I guess there's no one size fits all answer to that, but I feel like you always know within yourself if you need a breather, if you feel like you are hanging on by a thread, take your time. Seriously, take your time.
Coming from me, like, I can be everyone's like grandma. I'm 28 years old, not even halfway through this degree. Did I say 20 or 28? I don't know. I'm loving life. So, and like a lot of people who say that, like I'm feeling old, they're like mostly younger than me. So from me to you, it's all good. And I remember when I was like working in a call center kind of corporate job, the thing that like really motivated me then and keeps me going now is I would work with these people who like had like house mortgages. They had all these things that they had a lot of responsibility for, and they were really like stuck because they had all this responsibility. And obviously anyone can like make things work to get where they want to get to. But I was like, if I don't just like jump in and like do the thing I want to do, no matter what that looks like, then I'm going to be stuck as well. Do I want that? Fuck no. So yeah, from me to you, like, it's all good. Like, you're not too old. Yeah, grow my face.
Did you see that lady? No, did you see that lady? I think she
Yeah,
graduated
I
from
did.
the University of Tasmania and she was like in her 70s or something. How sweet was that? Like, even though I think she ended up coming out and saying that she was really interested in the topic and she knew that realistically she probably wasn't going to get out into the workforce. And it's just a beautiful message. You're never too old to learn, even if you don't. Even if you don't do anything with it, like, I don't know, knowledge is power, baby.
What a line. I like that. Yeah, I think that's such a good message to like do it for yourself. There's a lot of pressure to study things because it looks good, because it's like a more, I
It's
don't
like
know.
highly regarded, like law, being a doctor.
Exactly. And it's like you can do that if your values align, but at the same time, will that make you happy? Will that make you fulfilled? Like, literally just do things for yourself. Be fucking selfish.
Be selfish. Oh my God. Now that is a line, baby. There's always that line I hear, and it's like, be selfish to be selfless. Like, you have to take care of you first before you can worry about anything else. God, I really love that because I used to just bleed myself dry for the other things in my life, and I would be the one at the end of the day who just could barely even hold a conversation because I was that exhausted and burnt out. So, and I think the other reminder from us to you, failure is okay.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Good one. We can talk about this. We're qualified.
And a big thing that I've learnt, and Faith has learnt too, we have very similar learning styles. So we tend to do really, really well in more theory based units and like the nutrition based units. We are not big science brained girlies.
No. I love learning it. I actually love science.
I know I love learning it, I hate being tested on it.
Yeah, same.
I guess that comes into the ADHD barriers as well. But there's been so many people who have spoken to us about like other units being like, oh, you're going to hate it. Like, we failed, did
Yeah.
so terribly. We get there, do bloody amazing in it. And it's like this complete opposite switch around where what works for one group of people and their learning abilities and how they process information is going to be completely different to how you do it. So, moral of the story, do not compare yourself to anybody in an academic setting because we learn differently.
Damn straight.
And also, we touched on this in the first episode as well. Don't get caught up in the numbers. Don't get caught up in the GPA. Don't get caught up in getting, sevens for everything. It is so unrealistic and unattainable to just constantly be holding yourself to the highest standard, especially when it comes back to privilege. If you don't have these exceptional privileges in life, it might be harder for you to achieve, I don't know, to get that standard of what you want. And that took a really long time for me to grasp, wondering what was wrong with me. But in reality, I just have to manage my time a little bit differently to others. And that's gone on for a lot of people.
That's so important. And like, when I talk to people who have these really like massive GPAs, I pick their brains and I say, how did you do that? Like, how? And they'll be like, oh, I spent like so much time, and they tell me about how much time they're spending on it. I like physically cannot put that time into it because otherwise I won't be sleeping. I won't be able to work and pay my rent. Save for my placement. That is a big one because I'm trying to save money so I don't have to stress. So there's a lot of things, more things that you have to think about. And if me like getting a 4 or 5 for my science subjects because I can't like afford time-wise to put in extra time, means that like I can save up for my placement year and end the degree in better mental health because I haven't like stressed myself out completely. I'm really happy with that. In fact, I'm very proud about that.
As you should be. I don't know if this is like solid sound advice to give, but maybe take what I'm about to say with a grain of salt, especially if you're doing a health degree. But I think you've got to pick and choose your battles. At the end of the day, when you are leaving this degree, you need to make sure that you know your basics, your core basics. You need to know how not to kill someone. You need to know how to give legitimate advice you maybe don't need to know the ins and outs and different parts of a neuron. And, all those really nitty-gritty things that they drill into you that take so long to understand. At the end of the day, if you have a basic enough understanding of how to explain it in real life human terms to somebody else, that's okay. Faith was even saying to me the other day that when she was seeing a dietitian, there were some things like, or even questions you ask, and like, oh, let me check that. Like, let me just double check.
Yeah, and something she told me was like wrong, um, which is fine. Like I definitely did not judge her, but for me, like having some like a health professional tell me something that was wrong, and I was like, and then I went and I asked somebody that I knew who would be able to tell me the answer, and they like they didn't say they were wrong, but like they showed me the right thing, and I was like, that is so refreshing that you don't have like it wasn't something basic, it was something quite niche, which is understandable because that person didn't specialize in this area. And I was like, that is so refreshing that like, I don't have to have it all figured out. It's all good to like, if you know your basics and you're like confident at speaking and being able to, like, obviously we don't know, we're not actual dietitians. It's okay to be like, I'm not too sure, because actually a lot of things do depend in different like situations. It's annoying to hear for people, I think, because they'll be like, what about this? And you're like, it depends. And they're like, oh my God, you don't know anything. But it's true, it always does depend.
It depends on so many variables. So maybe a whole episode coming up on it depends in nutrition.
That kind of brings us to like the positives of studying later in life. I feel like I really do not regret my decisions at all. And I feel like I've gained a lot of life skills. I've gained a lot of confidence. And the things that I've been able to succeed on in this degree have come from being a little bit older. And I'm able to get heaps out of my strengths in this degree because of it. Obviously, I've told everyone I studied marketing. One of my favorite subjects in this degree was called nutrition communications. And we had a subject where we pretty much did this whole like communications plan, this whole like nutrition thing, like for, it was for like teenage girls and iron. And let me tell you, that assignment felt very easy for me. It didn't even feel like work. And I'm like, I can 100% say it's because of my past study. So I had a bit of an advantage.
I'm telling you, when I watched Faith present that, I was punching the air. I was like, damn it, I should have been in her group.
I had so many people come up to me. I'm very proud of this, so I don't really mind if I sound a bit full of myself. But like, I had so many people come up and they're like, I want this to be a thing. Like, this felt really real with how you're presenting it. It looks amazing. And I've never felt like I came out of that like, oh, that was like good. That was like great work. So, and I feel okay with like having there be things where I'm like naturally good at and I get good grades, and other things that I struggle, maybe don't get the best grade, but I've learnt. I'm okay with that. Yeah.
Exactly. Picking and choosing those battles, guys.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Don't be discouraged if you are not perfect at something the first time round or even the second time round, because you know what? It's hard. But yeah, I'm glad I started uni a little bit later as well. Like when I was 18, I would not have been in the right mind to study, especially this degree. I was in such a like social phase of my life. I just wanted to go out all the time. Yeah, that was my priority. I did not care about anything else other than seeing my friends and having a good time on the weekends, you know? And that's another thing. If you are currently listening and you're in high school and not sure, from me to you, it is okay to take a break. Enjoy being a teenager. Enjoy being young. If you are not in a rush and don't feel like you really need to go to uni straight away, don't. Seriously, enjoy being a kid still, because time flies and I wish I could go back and have more of those years. But yeah, studying will always be there. Being a kid will not always be there. Yeah, just enjoy your time while you have it.
That's beautiful, because like, it's funny that you say when you were 22 you felt like you were too old, but that's so young.
It's so young, and I think I only felt so old because everyone else was, or all my friends had been and gone through their degree, so I didn't really have anyone to talk to about uni who would get it, and I didn't want to bother those friends who had finished, because they'd done their time. So I don't know, just do it is my advice.
Jump in.
What's the worst that happens?
So in conclusion, everyone, it's okay to not have it all figured out, to go on a different path that takes a bit longer, or if you don't start straight away. Because that's what I was going to say. There's people who like will do something, finish it, and then not like their jobs. And then they'll be going back to uni anyway. So it's totally fine to just like chill, take your time.
It's okay to quit sometimes, you know? It's okay to change your mind. It's okay to not do anything at all. It's okay to jump straight in. There's no one size fits all. I'll say it a million times. Do what is right for you and stop caring about what other people think.
Yeah, that's probably a good theme of this episode. Stop giving a fuck what other people think. And you have a really good saying, Casey, that I really like. You say, we're all living for the first time. Like,
yes, we are all going through life for the first time together. So nobody really fucking knows what's going on. And if anyone acts like they do,
they don't know shit.
They don't know shit.
It's easy to fake it. Like, if you just don't say anything, or if you just post your good sides, like, people would just think you're like killing it, but you don't know what's going on underneath the surface. Like, but it's a really lovely journey, and I'm like, it's a really fulfilling time to do it at this time, and I like you, Casey, don't have any regrets. But yeah, cool. I think that's it.
That's us done. Okay, outro time. Thank you guys for listening to another episode of the Undone Club. We hope you enjoyed. If you did, we would love you to support us on whatever streaming service you're on. Leave us a review. Leave us a comment. If we've got a poll up, look at the poll. I don't know, will we do one for this? Who knows? There might be one. Bit of mystery. You'll know before we do.
Follow us on Instagram. Casey is at Dietitian Casey. I am at Wholesome with Faith. The potty is
Undone Club, baby. Join the club. Love to see you there. Bye.
Bye. This podcast was recorded on Turrbal and Juggler land. We pay our respects to elders past, present, and emerging. Always was and always will be.